This episode brought to you by Ned's Discount Cancer Surgery Center. If you're diagnosed with a malignant cancerous growth, there are all sorts of worries that arise. Am I going to die? How long do I have to live? Have I wasted my life? Well, don't let one of those be paying too much for cancer surgery. Ned's Discount Cancer Surgery Center costs less than half of what those other cancer centers charge, and they don't even let you take home the cancer they cut out. We save money by not wasting your time and money on costly tests and imaging, and get right in there and go cutting away. So go to www.ithinkwegotmostofit.com to schedule your surgery today. Literally today. Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk.
An opinionated and accidentally funny horror movie review show. Go, 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 go.
Let's take a stroll through the scraggly woods. He had no face! Horror!
Sabrina, don't just stare at it, eat it.
New theatrical releases always get priority.
But we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible.
Wow, that didn't sound good.
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk. Your panel of expert hosts each week are me, Dr. Bryce Hanson. I hold a PhD in spookology. And Professor David Day.
David.
The foremost expert in scare no-nos. New theatrical releases always get priority, but we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible.
Well,
buckle up.
We brought you the best with Midnight Mass. and you've eaten it up like all the hungry little baby birds you are. And now we bring you cancerous bullshit. Here you go. I hope you like it.
Today we'll be reviewing Malignant, James Wan's new masterpiece.
I have so many questions all about James Wan.
Yeah, we got a lot to get into on this one. So a cool thing you might not know about Horror Movie Talk is we have the very best community of any podcast. Go check us out on our Facebook group, Horror Movie Talk group. And lots of convos going there and stuff. Also, if you go to our website, horrormovietalk.com, you'll find links to all of our other social media so you can follow us. We do watch parties every second Saturday of the month, except for this month. I skipped it because I was...
It's a lot.
I had, put up my fence posts, and I was, done.
Actually, interestingly, StreamLounge.io reached out to us,
right?
And they want to sponsor one of our watch parties with a
with
steel case,
a giveaway
Blu-ray copy of something on our next watch party. So
stay tuned in October. I don't know. Maybe we can make watch party a thing in October. We need to discuss what we want to do for next month.
Well, the point is, sign up at StreamLounge.io, get an account, and follow us on there. And that's like a Twitch for streaming movies with us. So.
And you can watch our past streams as well. Speaking of Twitch, David plays on our Twitch channel, Dead by Daylight, pretty often. So subscribe to us on twitch.tv/horrormovietalk. We post new episodes of the podcast every Wednesday, so please consider subscribing and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser or anywhere that you can. If you want to call and leave us a voicemail, call 682-253-4468. If you want to call and leave a message of you, what are all the various things that you'd want on this line?
We got chunder, we got vomit, we got... diarrhea. There's farting. You could show us how those tits flap. You could also show us how those tits fart. Really, just you could burp. You could do anything.
Any bodily fluids or gaseous emissions.
Yeah, that goes to the bodily fluids exchange line,
and that number is 252-228-4628.
Yep.
We got a lot to talk about today. We better get into this episode real quick. Oh shoot. Could you bring up the trailer? Well,
Yeah.
I'm doing this. I forgot. We'll start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a miserable dredge where it makes you angry, 5 being an average film that hits all the expected marks, and 10 being so good it transcends genre boundaries. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film. Later, we'll be playing a game called Make It Better.
Oh, good. I love this game.
Which is a good one.
Yay.
We've had a lot of positive feedback on this one. We've only done it a couple times.
Make It Better is Bryce's brainchild, and it's just a thing where we
reformulate the movie that we're reviewing into a better
on the fly
version of itself.
Really, we're just like a writer's room at midnight.
So we went and saw Malignant, and it had me all turned around.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Here's the trailer.
I'm gonna take a shit while this trailer plays.
Okay, thank you.
I'm having visions.
The body of Dr. Florence Weaver was found brutally murdered in her home this morning.
Did you know her? No, but I saw her die. I'm seeing things. I'm seeing murders as they're happening.
Hello?
He says his name is Gabriel. I think he's someone from my past.
Whatever happened to you before you joined our family hurt you in a way that I can't even imagine.
Stop saying that. Maddie, who are you talking to? Gabriel. Is he your imaginary friend? He's the devil.
Whatever it was.
It's back. He killed again. He's getting closer. He wants to talk to you. Mom, what do you know? He's coming for me. Who are you, Gabriel?
Oh boy. So Malignant can be found in theaters now, probably for another week or so, and streaming on HBO Max until October 10th. Malignant is about an abused wife, Madison, played by Annabelle Wallis, who, after her husband is murdered, begins to see a figure in the shadows and having visions of murders. She finds out that these murders are real and that she has been witnessing them in real time. As police investigate the crimes, they seem to be tied together and related somehow to Madison's past. James Wan, the director of Malignant, is an accomplished horror director. Say what you want about The Conjuring, Saw, and Aquaman. The truth is he is a competent director that has made some very enjoyable and successful movies. So much so that two of horror's biggest franchises were launched off of his movies.
He's undeniably
You're right.
talented at this.
So the question is, how did Malignant happen?
What happened?
And is this a joke?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. It's specifically circling around this topic, and I almost wonder if the answer isn't just this was ghost directed by someone else, and they just slapped Juan's name on there real heavily.
So fraud is what you're saying.
Not fraud. I mean, fraud to the extent that, Joe Dante directed Gremlins, or...
but he did.
Or Tobe Hooper directed Poltergeist. It's like, yeah, but it stinks of Steven Spielberg a lot.
Okay.
No, you don't think that's
not Joe Dante. I think Tobe Hooper, the case could be made, and there's like rumors about it. But even then, it's like Tobe Hooper made Poltergeist, but Steven Spielberg like definitely stepped in sometimes. Joe Dante, I don't think. Joe Dante is a good director. Like I don't think that.
I'm not saying he's not a good director. I'm saying Gremlins tasted like Steven Spielberg.
Elements of it, but there's definitely parts in Gremlins that would not be in a Spielberg movie.
Sure. I mean, there's parts in Poltergeist that wouldn't be in a Steven Spielberg movie too. But what I'm saying is there's definitely a mixing of the pot there, and I'm wondering if there isn't a mixing of the pot here.
I think it's probably less nefarious and more...
It's not nefarious.
Of just a misfire or... Well, anyways, we can get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So I can only assume that Juan intentionally made a bad movie. Because otherwise, the only explanation is head trauma. There are times when it shines with pure stupid fun, mainly the opening and ending scenes, but the majority of the movie seems to have poor footing with its tone. I could see some of these terrible lines of dialogue and ridiculous plotting work in a committed, exaggerated, campy horror film, but foolishly, everyone is playing it subdued and straight. I sat there watching the film, bored for most of it, desperately wanting a Bruce Campbell in Evil Dead 2 type actor to bring some levity and self-awareness. Nope, just performances of the caliber that you would see on your mom's favorite C-tier CBS crime procedural. It's very like...
The acting in this is just abysmal.
Yeah, it's to the level of like Hawaii Five-0.
It feels
remake.
like I'm watching a soap opera.
Yeah. The influences are many and varied. I'm reminded of most of Juan's career with elements of The Conjuring and Saw apparent, but also campy horror classics like Reanimator and Basket Case. However, instead of taking disparate ingredients and making a hearty, enjoyable stew, we are treated more to a bachelor's feast of unrelated stale cold leftovers eaten out of Tupperware containers.
It's pretty thick.
The film could have gone a number of ways to explain what's happening to Madison. It could be a haunting, a possession, a serial killer, psychic powers, etc. What it ends up being is so dumb that you almost want to stand up and clap.
It's... I have this theory, and I told you about it last night.
I kind of love the concept. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, the execution is bad. And some of it's like, I almost wonder if it's intentionally bad. But the concept of like this being this dumb idea and committing to it, a movie to it, I love.
So I'm gonna regale you of a little tale in movie history where people, so just coming off of the extraordinary success of the movie Alien, some movie execs were sitting around with James Cameron and they were like, "We're gonna give you a shot," and they were at a storyboard pitch, and Cameron had on the board, he had the word alien. And they were like, "Yeah, we got to redo it, but how are we going to do it?" And then all he did was he looked at the board and he wrote an S on the end. And he said, "Aliens." And they were like, "Fuck." They were like, "Yes. This is why we hire Cameron." Like, God damn. And then what happens? It ends up being like the bombing ass, most best sequel ever made. My theory is with this, Juan was like, "Okay, we got The Conjuring. It's a spooky house." On the board he writes, "Spooky house." And then they're like, "Yeah, we got to do something with a spooky house." Yeah. And he's like, he just crosses out house and writes body. And they're like, damn! It just feels like a reskinning of a spooky house thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting take on it. We won't get into spoilers right now, but she is definitely haunted. I wish I could like this movie more, but the story in the middle of the film and the characters are so boring. So boring.
Yeah.
That the ridiculous parts that I did enjoy couldn't overcome them. I give it a score, and mostly because I enjoyed how stupid the beginning and ending of the movie were. Like, that's what lifts this above, like, the dregs. But still a bad score. I give it a 3 out of 10.
Oh, wow. Yeah, actually, I was afraid you were going to give it like a 4. Yeah, I think this... I don't know. Like, it was interesting, kind of. It held my attention, kind of.
See, it's weird because it should work. Like, okay, so the full story is I watched it twice. So I watched it on HBO Max, like, while I was working, so I wasn't paying attention to it. And it was like, whatever. And it, usually if something doesn't hold my attention or doesn't capture me while I'm, like, have it on the background, it's usually not that great.
Yeah.
But there were moments in this, like, again, mainly the opening and the ending, where it did capture my attention. I was like, well, maybe I should revisit it and watch the whole thing with rapt attention. And so I went and saw it in the theater for this.
Ugh, bad move, I think.
Because I wanted to, have no distractions. I wanted to possibly see it with an audience.
Yeah.
And see reaction. Communal experience. Well, I was literally the only person in the theater. I had the entire theater to myself.
Well, it wasn't opening night.
It's not even close to opening night,
yeah.
but
and it was on a Thursday probably.
But yeah, I was so bored. I was so bored with the middle of the movie, and especially knowing that it was going to get to something like actually kind of amusing. Just waiting for it. But as I was watching it, it's like it does have, like, in terms of like structure, it has a lot of like points in the middle where it's like leading you towards what it actually is in a relatively competent way. But also along with that is there's a lot of points where it doesn't make any sense if you know what the ending is. Like, if you know what it actually is, there's also a lot of points where it's like, well, wait a minute, that couldn't actually happen if that's the case, especially early on.
I like to say the arms.
They like to see the arms in this one.
Anyway, so what's your score for this one?
Yeah, I mean...
And there's a blockage.
It's a...
And there's a blockage.
Hang on. It's a real pile of...
Oh, like a big sausage. It is. It's like a big sausage of...
Shit. Yeah, this movie is shit. And I don't know whether to be offended or bemused by all the people who reached out to us and were like, when are you going to cover Malignant? I bet David likes it and Bryce hates it. And I'm like, why do I have to be the one that likes this piece of shit? I give this as close to a 2 as you can give it while not being a 2. This is definitely a 3, but
yeah, god
damn, is it a piece of shit.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how people are split. Like, it's
a fun time, in the theater, I guess. I could see how it could be for people, but it does not nearly reach the level of, it's a slasher. This is a James Wan, as close to a James Wan slasher as there has ever been.
It's almost anachronistic because...
But it's not nearly as fun as any of the Friday the 13th. It's just not. It's not compelling. It's not like you're rooting for anything. It's like you're confused. It's a big mystery the whole way through, and then the thing you get is so just utterly just garbage, like
right.
Just total garbage.
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly almost we'll get into spoilers.
They treat it like the mystery is going to be some mind-blowing thing, and it's just like it might as well be Sharks of the Corn.
No, I disagree. I liked the twist. I actually really liked it. And I think it could have been great. And I'm just so curious about the choices that James Wan made and what the intention behind them was. Because I'm just baffled that he couldn't pull off what I assume he wanted to do, which was make like kind of an over-the-top campy slasher, like exploitational kind of movie that you used to see in the 70s and 80s. And it's just, but it has this weird like taste of like the 2000s and 90s.
It's
just
worse
like feels weird.
It's worse than that. It's just nothing. It's just nothing. At least Wrong Turn is something, you know? Like, this is just nothing.
So, let's talk briefly before we get into spoilers about our sponsor. Shudder.com is where you go to watch a bunch of great curated horror movies, a lot of foreign horror movies that you're not going to find anywhere else, Shudder exclusives, and Shudder produced TV shows. Go to Shudder.com and use code HMT at checkout to get a 30-day free trial instead of their 7-day free trial.
Yeah, you can think of Shudder like you think of Netflix, but exclusively for horror. Yeah. And their app on the phone works great, and so, you know, if your wife or husband is not into horror movies, you know, they can be watching something up on the big screen, but you can be having your phone out there on the side piece, being like, oh yeah, I love 90 Day Fiance, and then you could be watching Michael just be stabbing someone to death. Mm-hmm. So check them out and use code HMT to get that 30-day free trial, so that 7-day free trial.
Nightchannels.com is where you go for the coolest and nichest horror-themed, occult-themed, metal-themed apparel, t-shirts, hoodies. David's got one on right now.
That's right. I'm repping my Mayhem t-shirt, and I got a Tremors t-shirt, and all of their designs are stuff you've never seen. This isn't your stereotypical Terminator 2 Judgment Day shirt. This is like some custom made print that you've never seen before, and it looks so cool. And they got them printed on both regular regular t-shirts and their new Bella canvas t-shirts for that soft, silky feel up on those nips.
They're really nice. Yeah, someone on our Facebook group mentioned watching Persona, Ingmar Bergman's Persona, which is a pretty, not like widely appreciated movie in the horror circles, but it's definitely cut. It's a deeper cut. And I know that Night Channels has a Persona t-shirt.
Yeah.
So if you're getting into the weeds,
if you want to show how deep into horror you are,
right,
and you're just like, there's no Ingmar Bergman Persona t-shirts out there. Well,
wrong.
You're fucking wrong.
Go to nightchannels.com, and honestly, the one thing that we've asked people to do that's been very successful is take the Night Channels challenge.
Yeah.
Which is just go to nightchannels.com and browse.
Just surf around for a minute.
You will find something that you can't live without.
And if you enter code HMT at checkout, you get 13% off your whole order. So enter HMT at checkout at nightchannels.com, and they'll keep your body covered in something cool.
Yeah, please support them because they've really been supporting us. And they were the sponsor for several episodes of the Midnight Mass.
Yeah, they brought those to you, so thank them.
If you're listening to these commercials, you should know that you don't have to. If you go to patreon.com/horrormovietalk, there is a tier, not too high, where you get advanced
early access to all the. So had you been subscribed to that, you'd be listening to this episode 3 days ago.
Right. Maybe. Depends on who's editing it. Sometimes it's 4 days. Sometimes it's, like an hour before. But yeah, you get early access without ads on patreon.com. Also, we sell our own t-shirts at horrormovietalk.com/shop. So check that out. Also, we want to appreciate and throw love to Dustin Goebel. He's a professional artist who fucks hard. He also takes commissions for artwork from HMT fans. He's the one that does all of our cover art for our episodes. Contact him at dgoebel00 on Instagram.
Dustin's been helping us with keeping our brand looking amazing for almost 2 years now. And if you guys haven't reached out to him, if you haven't taken a look at his stuff, if you haven't followed him on Instagram at dgoebel00, DGOEBEL00 on Instagram, then what are you doing?
Right.
He's really great, and he deserves your patronage as well.
Finally, if you want to leave us a voicemail, again, call 682-253-4468. Thanks. Let's get into spoilers.
Would you like me to play a different spoilers music? No.
All right.
Okay, here we go. Let's see if I think I have something that'll work for spoilers. Here, let's try it.
Continuous country.
Is that like the stock audio, whatever, jingle palette?
Did it not work? Hang on. Maybe this one. Okay, Radio Company. Okay, so spoilers.
Jesus. All right, so
we have to have some fun on this episode. Right. Holy God. Okay.
I'm honestly, I don't.
I feel like it's a practical joke. Like, that was my initial knee-jerk response, was like, oh, James Wan's trying to do something. Like, he's been so successful, he needs to shoot himself in the foot a few times to, like, regain to be like, oh, it's hard again. Like, I'm going to handicap myself.
Right. Because there's a lot of stuff, especially in the production design, that's kind of baffling. Like, what? Like, what? Just the weirdest choices. So, actually, let's start out with that. Okay. Just some, like... Okay, first off, in the opening, it opens to this hospital that looks like a combination of the Notre Dame Cathedral and Dracula's castle up on this mountain. It's like so exaggerated. Yeah. And that opening is so exaggerated, and then it's like instantly boring.
It's bonkers. Yeah, it's like Castle Freak.
Right.
Castle. It's...
And then the other things is like when the monster kidnaps that lady and ties her to this roof, it's this Saw-like broken down, like holes in the roof, light shining through industrial fans, and it ends up being
her house.
Her house.
That. By the way, that's like $1 million house.
It's like a charming Victorian
well kept
cottage,
no problems. Like, yeah, there aren't, the nature is not invading this house.
The fact that she could break through the ceiling and fall down 2 stories in this very well kept house that's been around for at least 100 years probably.
Like, and look, I mean, I know I'm gonna say this a lot here, but like, I'm looking at these statistics here. James Wan is the 20th highest grossing director of all time. Of all time. So you have to pass this through that lens.
Right.
Of this dude's movies have grossed $3.6 billion worldwide. Yeah. And he's making this.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little... Okay. I'm starting to see the light a little bit. Let me get through some of the other production design things that were kind of baffling.
Keep it going.
I listened to Red Letter Media's review of this, and they made a big deal out of the fact that they kept showing the exterior of the house, which is this small, again, Victorian house that, if you've ever been one of those, like the rooms are tiny.
Tiny, but also the interior. I mean, I'll give it this: the interior is deceptively large. Like when you look at it, it's like this house, kind of. You look at your house from the outside and you go, look at that tiny little house. And then you get in here and you're like, God damn, this thing's huge.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I found that different thing where it's usually the rooms are really small. And then when it's shot interior, it literally looks like a mansion.
Palatial. Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's true.
And I didn't notice it as much. They made a big deal of it in their review. And I was like, I don't know. It's just a movie. Like it's not noticeable enough for me, but for people that are, probably in real estate, they're like, what the fuck? The other one was the police station that looks basically like as giant as Grand Central Station.
And it's set in Seattle.
And it's in Seattle.
If you're familiar with, the Northwest or Seattle specifically, like that's not a police station from Seattle.
Right.
Which, I mean, now we're splitting hairs, kind of.
But I mean, I don't think that's a police station anywhere. Like they don't have, it looked like the Library of Congress, or just like a giant, it just looked ridiculous. And then the thing I noticed was that outside the windows, you could see outside the windows, there was police car lights on.
Siren lights?
Yeah. And I was like, to tell you that this is a police station?
Okay.
Why would they have the police lights on outside of the police station?
They're pulling up. They're pulling perps in. I don't know.
Just weird stuff.
Wouldn't you turn them on? I don't know. Yeah,
the Seattle Underground, lots of like, and then there was a part where they were like just parking the police car or something, and it was like a full-on mechanic shop, and someone was welding and like grinding down metal inside this garage. I'm like, what? Uh-huh. They're not like, I'm pretty sure they're not working on the police cars at the police station. They're just parking.
Okay.
So lots of weird like production design decisions that are very tonal. And now that I think of it, that's kind of is seen in Wan's other stuff, to where every Conjuring movie has the exact same like dim, dark house.
Yeah.
The spooky house syndrome, as I like to call it. And then Saw like is in these inexplicable bathrooms. Like just pipes going everywhere for no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, like the one of the most memorable parts of Saw is definitely that bathroom, obviously. But then if you break that bathroom down, it's so confusing. You're like, wait. Wait, they have like...
So it's like 700 square feet of a bathroom, and it only has one toilet and one bathtub?
But a tub? Like... But why is the tub here?
Right.
Like, is it... Like, this is supposed to be a public bathroom.
I mean, is it? I don't know.
I don't know. I have no idea. And it's got tiling, floor to ceiling, so that makes sense. But why is it so huge?
But for some reason, in that movie, it worked.
Yeah.
And then this, it like... They combine them such different like tones and like visual languages that they just don't make any sense. So the fact that the girl is kidnapped in like an industrial attic in like an abandoned warehouse, and then she falls through the floor, and it's actually a nice Victorian suburban home.
Yeah.
Just like, what? And that kind of thing, you can't look at that and say James Wan doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, that's like almost like a decision that the director of The Room would make. Tommy Wiseau would be like, yes, spooky attic and fall through, and it's a nice house.
There's a lot of
or someone would come to Tommy Wiseau and say like, but the attic is in disrepair, but we've been seeing the house the whole time, and it's really well kept. It's spooky, yes.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of just inexplicable stuff coming out of left field with this whole thing. If Frankie McDonald comes in constantly and just throws you a curveball where you're like, wait, what's happening? Yeah. It's and that's, I mean, that's with the acting, it's with the set pieces, it's with the basic premise. It's just like confusing to me, but okay, here let's steelman the argument for like because there is, it seems like there's a 50-50 split on audience approval of this. Like some people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? I had a great time. And I envy you so much because you're able to have a good time with this. And that's what I want. I want a good time with this. I think that they're able to overlook or easily suspend their disbelief and just go with it. Just go with it. Shut up. Stop thinking about it so much. Let him take you on this journey. And it is a wacky journey, and it is kind of scary in premise. It's just so hard to jump those hurdles of suspension of disbelief.
There's a lot of distractions, and then it just doesn't do itself any favors in terms of like just script and characters and actors. Like the acting it's just so milquetoast. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
None of the performances are good even.
Oh no. And some of them are so shockingly bad that they're just highlight. It's like putting a highlighter on it. It's like, why?
So
what's up with the casting of this?
So let's start going through this. So the beginning is kind of the most enjoyable part. It starts out with in this hospital, and something is loose. Gabriel, it's given a name, and the opening scene is straight out of the opening scene of Jurassic Park. Like I was waiting for
the
one of the doctors to go, shoot her!
Yeah.
Shoot her!
And then she did. She was like, shoot it!
Yeah.
Yeah. And he got his arm
compound fractured.
It was literally scene for scene the Jurassic Park Velociraptor moment.
So it's really campy, really over the top, and it really set the stage for, a movie like that.
Mm-hmm. A good movie.
And then it shifts gears.
And then it's like,
okay, guys, we're going to do a guy being surrounded by wasps and dogs. A lot of wasps, dogs going, there's German shepherds, golden retrievers, and Pomeranians.
And you're just like, what the fuck is going on? Wasps and dogs. What's happening?
So it hops forward to our main character, Madison, having... Okay, so I have to bring this up now. Just a second. Okay. So it shows Madison having a conversation with her husband, and we learn that she's pregnant.
Pregante.
And it shifts into the weirdest, most surreal marital argument and spousal abuse scene ever. Like this
is how spousal abuse happens. You just don't know because you had a nice family.
It's so unsubtle. I had to bring up the YouTube celebrity Dar Man.
Dar Man?
This is brought up a lot on YMH. So it's this level of this situation is what you would see on a Dar Man video of some over the top reaction to like a very
normal
thing to like put a moral on a point. So for example, I would just encourage people to go to Dar Man's video channel, which it's a DHARMANN is his name. But here's like a little excerpt. Okay, so they're in a coffee shop.
I'll bring him right out.
There's like a homeless man.
Hey, watch where you're going, man.
Bumps into businessman in suit.
Do you know how expensive this suit is? Much more than you can afford.
You're probably right. I'm really sorry, sir.
Some people. Anyway, let me get 3 slices of cheese.
We have a 5 for $5 deal if you want to add 2 more.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Great. Have a seat. I'll bring him right out.
Slices of cheese? He's buying cheese? Slices?
So just describe the businessman's acting style.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad.
Over the top, like grimacing, like face of like,
ew. Yeah.
Ew, homeless man. A lot of these videos are like, don't judge a book by its cover. Or like, if someone treats someone bad, later they'll find out that, you know, that person could help them or something.
It's
like that.
almost as if you took, you know, your brother-in-law, who is, I don't know, a baker, but he was like, hey, you know, you do these movie things, right? These movie films, and like, I've been working on my acting, so like, maybe you could put me in. And then you're just like, okay, so your motivation in this one is that you're frustrated with your wife, and he's like, okay, and then like, this is the first time he's ever acted, and then he just, you know, he takes it to 11 in the way a non-professional actor would take it.
But you can't blame the actor because it's got to be written in the script and directed that way. To where what happens is
he's your brother-in-law and he's a baker.
The guy takes the wife by the neck, and well, okay. First of all, they get in an argument about the fact that she's pregnant.
Right.
And he's like, maybe you shouldn't get pregnant, or what did he say? Maybe you should stop being pregnant.
Am I pregnant?
And it's like, what? This is something that would be said.
Maybe you shouldn't be,
because she's got like morning sickness.
Am I pregnant?
She's just not feeling well. And he's like, oh. And she had to turn off the TV so she could get a nap. And he's like, well, maybe you should stop being pregnant.
Could I be pregonate?
And then he takes her by the neck and shoves her so hard into the wall that
he does like a double punch where he punches her face and her tummy at the same time. He's like, boom! And she's like, oh, god damn. The dreaded double punch.
He shoves her into the wall so hard that it creates like, he like almost punctures the drywall, and then it like splits her
the back of her
skull
head
open, basically.
Yeah. She is injured tremendously.
Right.
And he's like I'm going to go get some ice. It's like, what's happening?
Yeah, it'd be like if the opening scene to your movie was like, here, honey, here's your tea. And then the guy stood up and just like cold cocked her.
That would have been a better movie.
It's like, what? What? And again, this scene is like, I could see this working in a super like over the top exaggerated style, because it's like,
but it's taken all seriously.
It's not even seriously. It's just taken as like
matter of fact.
How you would direct a cable TV show?
Yeah.
You know, like the Turner and Hooch remake, you know?
Yeah.
How long can Ugo being pregnant to get an abortion?
So that's how it starts out, and then we have her waking up still bleeding.
Yeah, yeah, and you're like, wow,
why didn't you?
She is so injured.
Why didn't you go to the hospital? Oh, and then between the
because she was cowed in there by her husband. She was afraid to leave the room.
Sure. So then there's a scene while the husband's being locked out of the bedroom. He goes down and is like having a night.
This was pretty effective.
And then this was straight out of a haunted house movie.
Yeah.
It's like they're setting up to be a haunting, like so specifically.
Yeah.
That this is exactly how you would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's straight out of the Conjuring universe.
Yes.
So much so that it's like a cliche.
It's basically a moment from Lights Out.
Right. But then he gets brutally murdered. You know, usually a ghost goes boogie, boogie, boogie. But this one goes snappy, snappy, snappy.
Yeah.
On his bones.
Yeah, and it attacks him from above.
Right.
Like in the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, that's got to be supernatural.
Right. And so Madison wakes up and she with her head still bleeding, and then finds her husband dead with his neck snapped around backwards. And then this is baffling. she sees the ghost, and the ghost goes to attack her and chases her through the house.
Ah.
And it's...
Yeah, I haven't made those
It's a
connections.
ghost. It's a ghost, like a ethereal black presence is running after her and attacking her. And already there's some problems. Because...
Well, but you wouldn't know that if you had only watched the movie one time. And I didn't even remember this part because...
Right.
Because it's such a throwaway.
So already there's two things that happen that are kind of baffling given what it actually is. So in the opening scene at the hospital, they're like, we got to cut out the cancer. Like, got to completely remove the cancer. It's like, okay, but they don't. That's the whole premise of the movie, is that they don't. And then the fact that there's a ghost that runs after and attacks her is like, what? That's not possible for what it actually is. Because the real thing is, Madison has...
Are you about to give the whole premise?
I'm giving away the whole premise.
Here it is.
Madison had a parasitic twin that... I think they even described it as a tumor.
Cancer.
A cancerous growth that, those cancerous growths, or those tumors that have teeth in them?
Sure.
Well, this is an extreme version of that, to the point where it's basically a parasitic twin. And not enough to where it could live on its own. And it's basically on her back, this weird, how would you describe it? Has these weird little tiny T-Rex arms.
Yeah, he's like a T-Rex.
And then like a mangled face. Kind of almost like a Cenobite face. What would the face look like?
Well,
that orc in Lord of the Rings, his face is all fucked up. It's like the white face and it's all mutilated. It's like if you shrunk that down and put it on the back of someone's head.
Yeah, it's...
Looks like that. So...
Oh my god, ew, David!
The presence is... The plot is that they tried to remove or obscure or like basically get rid of this parasitic twin as much as they could and seal it up inside of her. But somehow, when her husband, cracked open her head, it woke it up.
Mm-hmm.
Its name is Gabriel. And Gabriel's special powers are, it uses Madison's brain, it has eyes and stuff, but it's using Madison's body, and since it has use of her brain, it can show her things.
Yeah.
Can conjure up hallucinations in Madison.
And somehow...
for nefarious purposes.
Somehow, it has the added superpower of being able to affect electronics.
Right. Be able to speak through radio
radios. Because if the voice came from the back of her head, she'd be like, what the fuck? Who said that in the back of my... Who said that in my head?
Right.
But instead, he throws his voice to radios and stuff. And then also, like,
and blows up a lot of lights.
He makes lights flicker, which adds the spooky, haunted house element of the whole thing.
So, with that understanding, the killer is literally on the back of her head.
Yeah.
How could it chase her? And if it's creating the hallucination, why? I don't know. Like, it doesn't...
Overactive imagination.
It doesn't make any sense. So, already there's some problems. Let's see. A couple of the characters... Like, all the characters in this movie, I don't care about, and they don't matter. Like,
they don't matter so much.
Like, the detectives, there's these two detectives, and both of them, I have no idea what they're there for other than just to be the thing to move the plot forward, and no care is given to like actual care. Like, I guess the one cop is kind of attracted to Madison's sister, but nothing is ever made of that, and like, you don't care about. So this is where we'll get into it with make it better, because this
I need. Okay, go ahead. Finish your thought.
This deserves like an excellent performance. Like, if the focus was on a detective finding this out and being the surrogate audience member of like finding out how this crazy shit and having some kind of reaction. This is like if you inserted Bruce Campbell into this role, or a Bruce Campbell type that had these absurd things happen to him and you see his reactions to it, that would be more entertaining than just like, oh, we're going to go investigate, do an interview, and we're going to look at past files.
Yeah.
Okay. Like they serve no purpose other than like, and then this happens. And then the same thing with her sister. It's like, who cares?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I barely care about her.
Right.
I don't care about anybody in this movie. But here's the conversation I want to have about Malignant is what the fuck happened? You know, like, can we speculate a little bit on what's going on with James Wan? Okay. We have a couple options. Number one, they just wanted a name to attach to this, and most of it was done by, you know, the assistant director or something like that. Or maybe he's just cashing in. You know, maybe he's just like, I'm done. Like, or I'm working on something more important right now. This is just like a side piece. Or do you think he was like giving it his all? Like, do you think this was like, he's like, yeah, this is going to be the new thing. Because we got body horror and we got haunting of, it's haunted. It's my calling card, with the what you call it series, the Conjuring series.
You think I'm retarded?
James Wan is going to call into the show and he's going to be like,
You think I'm retarded?
I would, if James Wan called in the show, first of all, I'd be getting down on my knees, being like, because you know, I mean, there's some undeniable great movies he's made, and then also, you know, but anyway, the point is, what happened here? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think we can really say. I think maybe it'll come out later or in like interviews or whatever. But the interviews that I've seen, James Wan is basically saying he wanted to go a different way. He wanted to, you know, I think he knows that the Saw films, the Conjuring films is very formulaic. Like, he knows how to make those movies really well. And what he wanted to do is break out of like that style somehow, or break out of like those movies and do something new. And like, I don't think he said experimental, but basically the intention is like, you got to try new things.
Right.
Like, and you got to like step outside of the safety to, you know, attempt to create something new. And he definitely did that with this film.
Well, which is weird because, I mean, yeah, he did that with his film, but he did it with all the tools that he would do it with all the other formulaic movies. He was just like, this is what I know. My whole tool bag is just full of these tropes that I use in my others. So I'm just going to create it without that structure and do the same things.
I mean, I can see some of the flaws of the, okay, this might be the other thing. Some of the flaws of the Saw movies and the Conjuring movies, that you can overlook because of the format and like the storytelling, and characters in those movies. All of those flaws are in this movie, but they're highlighted to just such a large degree to where you're like, okay, some of the bad writing is like accentuated with bad performances and bad direction. Just because these are the parts that you would gloss over in those other movies, but this movie is almost exclusively that.
Yeah.
You know? I think my theory is that he wanted to do something new, and he had kind of an idea of a couple different movies that he wanted to reinvigorate, or a style that he wanted to reinvigorate, but he has none of the tools in his tool bag to pull off those types of movies. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's just got these tools, and he's just like, I want to do something new, but this is here are the things that I know how to do.
Right. But I mean, from a storytelling aspect, like the story and the plot, again, like upon second viewing, like it's decent. Like stuff is set up and twists and turns happen and there's unexpected things and then reveals and stuff. It's well constructed from that perspective. It's just the writing is very bad and the direction just doesn't know favors at all. So I don't know. I think it's just an attempt and a very, very large misfire. The other attempt.
You think it's a good faith effort?
I think it's a good faith effort. The other theory Red Letter Media put was that all these things were intentional and that he was literally trying to make just really absurd bad choices on purpose.
That was my initial feeling on this. I was like, he's trying to play a joke on me. This is some sort of Andy Kaufman play.
Right. Yeah. That's the other option, because there are some elements where you're like, he's a competent director. How would he not know? How would he put those together? Again, like going back to the industrial attic falling through the house that you've seen the whole movie, or showing the exterior of a tiny a and then go inside and it's a giant mansion. So I don't know, like I think there's a case to be made with several of those.
That's kind of where I fell with it for the majority of watching this movie. I was like, oh, I don't think James Wan has made a straight ahead slasher before.
Right.
And this falls in that category. And then also, like, if you're going to make a straight ahead slasher, let's have some fun with it. And it does feel like an Andy Kaufman kind of play. It does feel like, let's fuck with the audience to make them question what's good and what's bad and what's real and what's not.
Yeah. Other characters that we don't care about. The Seattle Underground lady that's not explained until the very end of the film. You're like, who is this? Why should I care about this lady?
Oh, boy.
It's just kind of pointless, and she's there probably for the only purpose she's there is to witness what the killer is doing. But why? You could just show the camera could show that. The other, I'll skip forward through a lot of stuff. I'm almost already kind of tired of talking about it. Finally it has the reveal, and then the ending is bonkers. Like the ending with like just the Matrix level action scenes of this backwards killer jumping through the police station and getting shot at. Like it's literally from the Matrix. That's another thing that's almost like a wink. It's like, okay, this is a weird choice for a slasher to turn into an action movie. And then also like the weird jail where it's like, it looks like it's a jail into a portal to a time machine or alternate dimensions where black women from the 70s with afros are
that was
in
so
there.
Weird. That scene, and
about 20 people that are named Large Marge are in the same jail.
That was so weird. And then it's all the stuff that's left on the table with this concept, because this concept could be so cool, like could be so weirdly much more creepy than it is. So like, okay, so you have this thing in your body that's able to not only take over your body, but compel you to do anything. So you have this girl who is this victim of cruel fate, this weird malignant cancer that's also a person that can control her. Okay, so maybe it makes her go and have sex with people she doesn't really like.
Oh no.
Like maybe it
Okay, this is a good question. If Gabriel
Wait, we got to make this better.
we gotta make it better. We'll get to the make it better section,
Okay.
but this is just a
I
question.
just don't want to throw too much out there.
I know. This is just a logical question. If Gabriel has sex with someone, and I'm sorry if I'm going to offend some of the more sensitive sensibilities.
I mean, I guess I'm a pretty sick guy.
So, if Gabriel has sex with someone as he's controlling Madison's body,
Yeah.
and there's penetration in the vagina, would that be anal sex to Gabriel?
For Gabriel?
Yeah.
No, it's just...
And would, if they're penetrating
No.
the anus, would
No.
that be vaginal sex for
This
Gabriel?
is so basic. Like, it's just biology, man. Just because it's in a reverse position doesn't mean it's called a different thing. It's still the same thing. Come on.
Okay.
The French.
French love that anal sex. Let's move on. So, okay, the last thing I want to talk about in terms of like production design, or one of the best things in the movie is when it cuts to the reveal of who Gabriel is, and it shows the surgery, and it shows like the arms getting cut off, like all this intense surgery to take off like his body and his rib cage, and then for the head, they just kind of like,
let's just push this,
just push that into her skull and seal it up,
and then we'll just close the skull up around it. That was so stupid.
The shot of the doctor just like, eh.
It was just. It was so bizarre. It was like, just push this thing way up in that skull. Like, it was.
And that concept is great. I love that. I wish the tone of the film and everything around it justified that scene.
We're able to accentuate it in a better way.
Yeah. So, anyways,
let's make it better.
All right.
Can we?
So let's just say who would like this movie first. I honestly don't know. I don't know who would like this movie.
A lot of people.
I think the people that like it are people that like movies and are just baffled by it.
I don't know. This is what I will say. If you liked this movie, please, look, we don't want to ridicule you. It's just not for us. But if you liked it, give us a call and tell us why at 682-253-4468. And tell us, because I just can't steel man this position.
Okay, so let's
make it better.
Let's make it better. All right. I'm going to leave the entire opening the exact same.
Okay.
I'm going to leave the concept the same. It's still Gabriel in the back of Madison's head. I love that idea. I love the idea of the backwards killer.
Yeah, it's the monster is actually really neat, and it's full of contortion and body horror, and it works. It's very crunchy and.
So opening scene is the same.
Okay.
Like it shows the hospital, Dracula's castle, and then it cuts to suburban life, and the production design is like straight out of like Little Shop of Horrors. When they're singing about somewhere that's green. So it's like stereotypical 50s cookie cutter housewife.
Okay.
Bringing husband tea. And then
I'm getting pictures of the Vision TV show in my head.
So Madison she's like a blonde ditzy girl.
Oh wow, you're changing her hair color.
I'm changing her to like the more innocent and like
less
helpless,
less brooding.
Yeah, the more innocent and helpless and victimized we can make this character, the better.
And and somehow that's blonde to you.
I'm just sure.
Okay, yeah. All right. Just address all your concerns to Bryce. I'm just saying.
Well, she's blonde because she's bleach blonde because her husband wants it that way. Okay.
God damn, look at those hot children. Oops, my finger slipped.
Husband is... I'm baffled. Her husband is cast by... Who's the husband cast as? Let's say...
Robert De Niro. Or Tom Cruise.
We need not someone that old. We need someone younger.
Oh, Chris Pratt.
We need someone that's like only played assholes. So
Michael Rourke. He's old.
Anyway, someone that's only played assholes.
Oh, Christian Bale?
No.
Well, he plays a lot of assholes.
This is a bit part. So it's like
I don't know.
It would be like
I throw out all these options. You're like, stupid. I don't have any ideas, but yours are dumb.
Okay, I'm trying to think of the actor's name that. Okay, so I'm thinking like someone who's an asshole that you would see as an abuser. So someone like Chris Cooper, like a young Chris Cooper, or what's his name? The guy that played Henry, serial killer.
Yeah, Michael Rourke.
Michael
Rooker.
Michael Rooker.
Sorry.
Someone like that as the husband, and completely over the top, super abusive, like immediately again. Hits the tea out of her hand, says, "I like coffee," and then immediately like abuser. Same scene, shoves her head into the wall, cracks it open, and
so far you've changed very little about this.
Changed very little because I like the beginning.
Okay.
And then she goes to the hospital. Okay.
All right.
And then we got to come up with some other characters to replace the characters that we don't care about. So I do think there's a place for a detective. Again, I want like a Bruce Campbell type, like someone that's going to be the eyes of the audience.
Oh, well, let's go with the obvious James Wan referential character who's just recently played a detective in a Saw movie. Let's go with the comedian
Chris Rock. Right.
I mean, he's the perfect guy to be the eyes for the audience.
Right. So Chris Rock.
Okay.
He's called to the hospital because of domestic abuse, and the doctors tell him how, she had this intense head trauma and was bleeding from the skull, but somehow they couldn't find any kind of actual, fracture, or like it sealed itself up like almost immediately. Don't know
like
how.
the curtains have been pulled closed.
Right.
Huh.
And then Chris Rock is coming investigating, and he's like,
"Did you take a CAT scan?"
Wow.
That's my best Chris Rock impression.
That's your best.
Can you do one?
No.
Okay,
I wouldn't attempt.
Well, I would.
So what happens next? So the first time we see the killer, it's in the hospital. Okay.
I would like to pose that something. I mean, we got to kind of stay with the wacky feel of this movie. It kind of feels all over the place. I would say that she gets in a romantic relationship with
the detective.
With Chris Rock, right off the bat. She's like, "Oh my God, you're my savior. Like, you've come to like look into what happened. Like, I just lost my husband. I'm ready because he was such a dick. I'm ready to like."
So it turns into a rom-com.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts with a rom-com, and Chris Rock starts singing her, and then on the regular, and then pretty quickly it gets really hot and heavy, and Chris Rock is like fucking her.
You're the yin to my yang.
And he's like pulling her hair, and when he pulls her hair, he hears like a voice like, "Ow!" Like, "Ow!"
Ow!
And she's like, "What?" Because it's not her voice. It's,
right. And
it's
he's
some
like,
other voice. And like, who the fuck was that?
Yeah, you into that? And she's like, "Well, yeah." But he's like, "Well, you said ow." She's like,
I didn't say ow.
I didn't say ow. And he's like, "Oh."
And he's,
okay, well, let's keep it going.
Ow! He's getting his dick sucked, and then he like puts his hand on the back of her head, and then his finger gets bit, and he's like, "What the fuck?
What'd you do?"
It's like, what?
She's like, "What are you talking about?"
I don't know. And then she just keeps sucking his dick until he doesn't pay attention. And so, just weirdness. And then
the Gabriel is like, I'm not like, Gabriel's a dude. So he's like, I am not into this at all.
Right.
He's like, dude, we need to find some fucking pussy up in this bitch. And so at night, You know, when she's asleep, when her and Chris Rock are in bed and they're asleep, Gabriel takes control and she goes out on the hunt, looking, you know, looking for, well, I mean, Gabriel goes, so it's a dude looking for girls, and you know, Gabriel is supremely fucked up. You know, he is not well in the head.
Right.
So every encounter is with a streetwalker walking the knife, and it does not end well. He's just...
So there's a series of prostitute murders that Chris Rock's detective is investigating. So they're investigating a serial killer.
Right. And she keeps coming back smelling like she's been heavy into cunnilingus. You know, she's just been... And he's like, baby, you smell like pussy.
Why does the back of your head smell like pussy all the time?
But like a lot. Like, and it's not your scent, you know? It's like, what's going on? I smell like every scene, like... No, it doesn't do it that overtly. It's just every scene you see Chris Rock doing that sniff face where he's like, you know, where he stays near her and he's like,
okay,
I got a whiff of something.
This is an important aspect. Does she know? I think this might be an
she
important
gets
thing.
visions of horrible things happening at night, but she thinks of them as dreams.
I think I want to change this entire thing.
Whoa, hey,
I would say I would change the vision thing, and I would make it that she knows Gabriel is in the back of her head, and that she's aware, and she's trying to keep it a secret.
Okay,
she's trying to keep it on the DL.
Right.
So it's like Basket Case, except
right,
the basket guy is always on the back of her head.
Right.
So she's trying to. There's a lot of like, you know, weird situations, like very sitcom situations of like, oh,
The Odd Couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm clean. I like to kill people.
And so she's trying to hide and like trying to make excuses for why the back of her head smells like pussy. And okay, so a series of serial murders, and then Chris Rock finds something that's definitely Madison's, like something of hers that he knows is her. So maybe he gave her like a ring or like a piece of jewelry, like earrings.
Yeah.
And then he finds one of her earrings in a crime scene.
Oh,
no.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and he's like, baby, it's the weirdest thing. Like, I had to keep it on the down low from the force. But like, I found, like, does he tell her? Does he come out and tell her? I think he does. No,
I don't think he does.
He's like, a good detective.
He's gonna stand back and keep an eye on
So he
it.
installs security cameras,
Yes.
all a Paranormal Activity 2.
Yes.
All throughout the house. And then this shifts from being a normally shot film to being a found footage film.
Right.
And, okay.
I think there should be a scene. I think progressively Gabriel should have more control over the body, because that'll be like the thing that they like, no, it's my body. It's my turn. It's my turn to masturbate. So like he's going to eventually get more control, and there's going to be a lot of scenes of him in a trench coat trying to go to movies. Like, but he's walking backwards, but trying to act naturally. You know?
Yeah.
I like the idea of seeing Gabriel like this mangle-faced, backwards walking guy trying to like shop for groceries.
Yeah. Or
Just
like
trying to live his life.
Or like singing in the rain, like, you know, like circling a street lamp, but backwards, you know,
Yeah.
like
He's finally figured out how he can have complete control over the body, and then he finds out that he's shunned in society because he's a mangled backwards monster.
Okay, I have a question. So the movie Malignant as it stands right now ends with such spectacular gusto. How are we going to end this one with similar gusto?
It's not, I don't think it's going to be over the top gusto. I think it's going to be Chris Rock finds out. Okay. And then
he finds out that Gabriel's in the back of his new wife's head.
Yeah.
Okay.
Girlfriend. And then Gabriel kills Chris Rock. And then
how?
Murder? I don't know. With a knife.
I think he's
Simple.
got. I think it's got to be some weird sexual act. I think he's got to like take control of her while she's like giving a hand job and just pull his dick off and like like a really like a Saw like close up slow mo of like the dick like coming off the body. Chris Rock's like, no, my dick, oh, and then he shoves it down Chris Rock's own throat.
You know what?
And he chokes him with his own dick.
I'm going to change the casting just from that delivery of that line. It's not going to be Chris Rock. It's going to be Aziz Ansari. Oh no, my dick!
And then he shoves the dick into Aziz or Chris's
mouth,
own throat, and chokes him to death with his own dick.
Yeah, and then
that's
and then the ending will be, the investigation of that, and then like the heat put on her, and then all of a sudden there has to be so we could do like an over the top several murders, like lots of police, like SWAT team comes in her house. And then she kills all the SWAT team. And then it's going to be cut to the Incredible Hulk ending, like the TV series, where she's going to be walking into the distance sad. I got to make a new life. But the full circle is they come to the realization that they can't live, separately, that they got to live together.
They got to make it work.
Gabriel can't have complete control. Madison can't have complete control. Like... They've got to make it work together, just like Bruce Banner and the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is very, you've mentioned Basket Case a few times, but that is really the most astute observation about this. This is just pre-Basket Case. This is like the preamble to Basket Case.
Right.
Which, by the way, we've reviewed on our Patreon. So you can check that out.
Yeah. So I think that would make it better. And I think the important thing is make it very tonally consistent and absurd.
No, yeah. That's real important.
And fun.
And actually, every time... No, yeah. Yeah. I think... Okay, I've got one more thing to add. Like, all the murders that Gabriel commits, it involves dicks being ripped off and shoved down people's throats to choke them out.
No, or... Yeah. That and also the head is twisted around.
Okay.
The
head is twisted around because it's like... Now you see backwards just like me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. And at that moment where Chris Rock has his own dick down his throat, he's like, oh, it all makes sense now.
All right. The end.
The end. We've made it better. Hey, look at us.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on Horror Movie Talk. Please, if you like the show, leave us a review or rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you can leave a rating. Share the podcast with a friend. It really helps us out. If you want to, if you're going to spend anything on Amazon, like we could ask you to go to our website, horrormovietalk.com, and click through the Amazon button at the top, and then we get a little taste of that.
And then if you would like to get a hold of us and tell us that we're good or bad, or that you agree or disagree, you can do so by calling 682-253-4468, and you'll get through to our voicemail. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I hope you also watched the Midnight Mass show on Netflix, and then listened to our our series of after shows on it, because a lot of people have been doing that, and we just appreciate the heck out of all of you.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Looking for a podcast full of burps and gas, perverted cast, skinny and fat? Look no further. Horror Movie Talk is accidentally funny, begs to donate money, fake sponsors for dummies, and so much more. New episodes every hump day. They'll pickle your dickle for foreplay. Patreon members have it your way. Vote for a movie every month for the review. Choppa choppa, don't just stare at it, eat it like a taco. Put your tongue through the phone hoodie, Picasso. Look at them hot kids, swear not a pedo. Got me too'd with Cosby eating jello. Pudding Pops done gave Bryce flatulence. Drain addict Dave doesn't give a shit. 1 through 10, is it horrible or excellent? Oil me up, daddy, is dinner Robson kiss. Bryce Hansen, look at them hot kids, Chris Henson. Masturbate with a crucifix, exorcist. Face huggers, chest bursters, alien. Linda Blair peed on Sigourney Weaver. I know it's true cause it came from social media. Patrick Bateman can't understand you. Stab you to death for rotten apple reviews. Opinionated podcaster with a doctorate. Spookology, doctor of philosophy. Bad gastritis, need colostomy. Turn Patreons into human centipedes. David Doobie Day, scare him, no expert. And Global Fucks hard, professional sexpert. Afterpods, taglines, and porno flicks. American Psycho, them guys pretty sick. Chopper, don't just stare at it, eat it like a taco. Put your tongue through the phone, hoodie, Picasso. Look at them hot kids, swear not a pedo. Got me too'd with Cosby eating jello. Pudding pops done gave Bryce flatulence. Train addict Dave doesn't give a shit. 1 through 10, is it horrible or excellent? Oil me up, daddy, is dinner rubs. Nothing good happens in the woods. Always get more than you bargained for. Got a pickle to dickle, machines tickle bitties. Killer on the phone, ain't no Sharon Stone. Vancouver, Portland, Oregon, and organs. Corona, COVID, curse, Lorona. Green River Killer, because reasons. Hallway of poop monster kids screaming. Ain't your ordinary dingleberry itinerary. 30 days shutter and jump scares, they fucking scary. Time for the spoilers with jokes and tropes. Use their white socks to catch their loads. To show them one titty, pretty. Paganism you should worship, they Teflon dicks. Pacific Northwest, let them see one breast. Shifty eyes stay spooky, poor man's digress. Bugsy, HMT, horror movie talk. Hold on, they don't like Halloween. Fuck them.